Good evening and warm welcome to all the participants. We are joined by our speaker this week. This is session number 227 on WiseViews. Please welcome Mr. Anand Chandramouli. Good evening, sir, and welcome to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Sudhakar and Dr. Prasad and the ICFAI team and all the participants. Thank you very much.
At the outset, I want to thank Dr. Sanjay Fuloria for connecting us with you. And I also want to thank you, sir, for visiting our campus last time when we requested you to visit us. I will do a brief introduction and then I request you to start your opening remarks. Kindly take it down, sir. I will start my presentation. So as I mentioned, this is WiseViews Leadership Conversations and we are at the 227th session. Every Friday we host this and leaders like Mr. Anand Chandramouli have added a lot of value in the conversations that we host every Friday. So today we are talking about AI and its implications for productivity and IT services in India, and this will be led by Mr. Anand, as I mentioned some time back. This introduction and his opening remarks will be for about 30 minutes, and after that we'll have Q&A. We will extend the session today by 5-10 minutes, depending on the response to various questions. And given the importance of the topic, I think we need a little bit of an extra time today. I'll seek the permission of the speaker to help us in this matter.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Anand Chandramouli is with us. He is the head of Global Capability Center Solutions, the GCC solutions of LTI Mindtree. LTI Mindtree is now rebranded as LTM. Mr. Chandramouli works with business and functional leaders to offer customized future-ready solutions. He has about 27 years of extensive experience in running financial and strategic research programs, thought leadership, Six Sigma consulting, and large program management. His specialties: cross-disciplinary thinking, rigorous analysis, and writing. Mr. Chandramouli is passionate about incubating new ideas and building high-performance teams. Various positions that he held in the past: Chief Knowledge Strategist at Cognizant, Center Director for Cognizant Research Center, and Director of UBS India Service Center, and various other positions. He holds MSc in Statistics and Operations Research, which he did from Loyola College in Chennai. As I said, he writes a lot. He published various works. One of them, or some of them, Collateral Management, a systematic approach to optimizing global trends in investment operations sourcing. The part 3 of that, Collateral Management, Margins Take Center Stage, Reconciliation Ability, an idea whose time has come. In terms of remittance market, ready and waiting for its Skype moment. Wonderful, sir. Thank you so much. We have discovered a fantastic leader as part of the WiseViews platform. I want to thank you for joining us. I will also take a moment to introduce my esteemed colleague, Dr. R. Prasad, who is the Senior Director in Academic Wing at ICFAI. He brings 3 decades of rich experience to the table. He was an entrepreneur, a corporate professional, and now an academic at ICFAI. He holds BTech from IIT Bombay and PGDM from IIM Kolkata. Thank you so much for joining Dr. Prasad. And we will save all the time for Mr. Anand Chandramouli. Thank you, sir. Over to you. Kindly start your opening remarks. Thank you once again.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Professor Sudhakar and Dr. Prasad and the ICFAI fraternity for hosting me and for giving me this opportunity. And there's also a very timely topic, I think, right? Given the kind of news flows we're all seeing, right? So I thought I will address some of the salient points, right? As I'm seeing, right? Take it from me, I'm a practitioner, I'm right in the trenches. This is exactly what I see as a GCC solutions leader. I meet all the clients, right? All the CIOs and CTOs pretty much every second, third day. I meet with them and I discuss with them, right? So take it from a practitioner standpoint. So that's how I want to give it to you in a raw form as I'm seeing it. Plus, of course, I've done my own research, given my own proclivity for all these things. I have done some good research, I think, based on the last 2-3 years of output that Eric Brynjolfsson continuously puts out and some of the National Bureau of Economic Research output, right? Because there's some of the productivity statistics I want to bring into this forum, right? It's a very enlightened forum. So indulge me. I need your indulgence in terms of time. This is going to be a bit of a sort of a serious session, right? It's not just going to be the usual PowerPoint where. So I'm just giving you a forewarning in this. As a bit of an economics, bit of a J curve, all that stuff I want to drill down because I'm a transformation leader. I've done enormous amount of transformations. I know what it takes to drive transformation, especially with the new technology as you begin to kick in, and how difficult it is to get those incremental productivity from an existing system, a brownfield versus greenfield. So that's how I want to structure this entire conversation. So with your indulgence, let me just share my slides. I will start my presentation. So this is how I've laid out my presentation to you, right? First, I'll cover what the general market mood today is. Then I'll introduce Gen AI as a general purpose technology and what's its adoption rate. And straight away, I'm going to cut into the productivity paradox, as it's called, right? I'm sure many of you will go back to Solo, which is famously attributed to the productivity paradox, right? And some of the empirical evidence that I see in the labor market, what's been the AI impact on the labor market? Unfortunately, longitudinal studies are not available yet, but we have the latest one from the NBER. I'm referencing that here. You have about from 2010 to 2024, about a 14-year period study. I want to bring it to your attention. And of course, the elephant in the room today in the market is what is the opportunity for Indian IT services sector? So that is the biggest question that is grappling everyone. And you have a very polarized commentary from both sides of the aisle as expected now. And as a practitioner, what really matters as you navigate through the change, right? So this is how I'm going to structure this entire presentation. So what's the market mode, right? I can sum it up in two lines. One, on the one hand, you have a very exuberant, I'm asking the question, is it rational or irrational on the AI side of it, right? I just saw a statistic, Anthropic, the market cap of Anthropic in the last, say, it is launched 4 years back. Today, the market capitalization of Anthropic is greater than your top 4 IT services put together, your TCS, the Infosys, Wipro, and HCL Tech. So that's the valuation the market is giving to Anthropic. That's just only one sample point because Anthropic is in the news through this February. Right? And what's next? Gloom and doom for software and IT services business. Right? So that's in 2 lines. That's the current market mode today. The market is discounting the IT services companies, system integrators like us, and the software as a service SaaS companies pretty much at a near terminal value. So I'm giving you in 3 pictures. These 3 pictures tell you the February story, February of 2026 story, all attributed to one company, Anthropic, right? Step 1, the last day of January, first week of February, they put the first news release came. They're outing with the Claude the plugins, which is going to automate away all your marketing, research, your legal research work, all that stuff. And lo what? All the IT services stocks took a beating. Then came the announcement. They're going to count with all the cybersecurity, Claude plugins for cybersecurity, all the cybersecurity stocks worldwide plunged. Then came the last week of February, Claude plugin came in, right? So they put out a blog post which clearly said about the COBOL language, right? Hundreds of billions of lines of COBOL is run in production every day, right? Powering critical systems in finance, airlines, and government. Despite that, the number of people who understand it shrinks every year. So that is the key lead-in from Anthropic. That's the line which caught the imagination. And they had a solution. Look, we have a Claude plugin which will convert all your legacy COBOL codes, billions and billions of lines of codes, into Java, to all these things. So basically shift it from mainframe into the modern systems so that the legacy or the code modernization can be done like this. So that's how the market understood it. And lo, what happened? In 2 days, IBM cracked 13-14%. $40 billion of IBM's market capitalization got wiped out with this one tweet, one announcement from Anthropic. So this sums up the market mood for you. Now, the analysts call it as SaaSpocalypse, right? Pretty much it's the obituary is written for its SaaS companies, right? I'm sure many of you would have read this paper, the 2028, the intelligence crisis, right? So this sums up the market mood today. To sum it up, the market is discounting the worst case scenario. Pretty much the IT services companies today, if you take the India legacy players, the valuation of all these companies are pretty much at an all-time low, the 5-year low. About another 5-10% correction, they'll all go back to the 2008 lows, right? Pretty much these IT companies are now valued for their terminal value, right? No growth is accounted for. So that's how pessimistic the market mood is today, right? Let's take a look at what is this Gen AI is all about. What the analysts typically, they call Gen AI as a general purpose technology, right? like any other invention. It could be a steam engine or electricity or the personal computers. And what are the hallmarks of any general purpose technology? You call a technology as a general purpose technology if it characterizes, right? The characteristics are about 3, 4 main characteristics, right? One, it should be characterized by its wide adoption. It should be continually improving itself, and it should make a cascade of downstream innovation should be possible, right? Either in goods or in services, or in the production processes or in business structures. So any technology which help you deliver these three things, right? Widespread adoption, continuous improvement, and because of this technology, there has to be a downstream improvement, downstream innovations in terms of goods or services, production process, or business structures. So the Gen AI clearly satisfies, checks all these key boxes, and that's how we are calling it as a general purpose technology. So what is now very different is, in the past, all the other, including AI, ML, machine learning technologies, right? How this Gen AI is very, very different from the previous cycles of invention or technology cycle is, mostly it was a type of work that was amenable for automation, whether by machines or by computer software, right? It was all routine tasks, highly codifiable rules, the rules that were written by people. So those are the ones which got automated out, right? But whereas AI models, they learn by example, right? An AI model need not be told exactly how to accomplish a certain task. You only provide them, feed them with more and more data, and they recognize patterns. And that's how the AI can learn how to handle complex systems. All the non-routine tasks that require knowledge that is difficult or impossible for humans to codify. Right? Many of the knowledge, the contextual knowledge, are all very, very tacit. Right? Take it from me. So that's the fundamental difference. So this ability to implement complex tasks, right, sets this Gen AI beast very, very apart. Right? So they can accomplish large general goals with very limited human supervision, almost mimicking human decision making. I'm using the word almost, right? Very careful, that's the operative word. In terms of human decision making, in terms of reasoning, and in terms of implementation. So many of the very economically valuable activities can be done. It's feasible today using AI, right? So that's how it's called the general purpose technology. So that's the basic thing. Now, coming to its adoption, right? Here are some of the surveys, right? The US Census for Business, BTOS survey as we call it, as of 2025, is a large survey available right now. 17% of the businesses in US have started in some form or the other. They are adopting the Gen AI adoption right now. 30% of the businesses, as per the latest survey, December 2025 numbers are available. So I'm quoting that. Please feel free. You can Google it up and find these surveys. With more than 250 employees are adopting Gen AI in some form or the other. But of course, what McKinsey's survey tells me is very clearly is in large companies, right, the uptake, which is expected, right? In any large company, the uptake for Gen AI should be higher, and rightfully so. So the takeaway for this group for you is Gen AI is everywhere, right? People are using, people are experimenting it, right? And there is a 2024 St. Louis Federal Reserve paper. I'm just quoting from that, right? What they found is with the release of ChatGPT in late 2022, this Federal Reserve, St. Louis Federal Reserve paper is published in 2024. You can Google it up. What they found is the adoption of ChatGPT and all the Gen AI technologies is as fast as any workplace, the computer adoption after the release of IBM PC in 1984, the pace with which the IBM PC got adopted, right? So that is the pace with which this is getting adopted over the last, say, 2-3 years. So this gives you broadly the uptake and the adoption rate and the general interest levels, right? Also, our own practical experience is what? Many of this is not very hard for you to quantify the actual usage, right? In a workplace, people may be using it, but it's all under the radar, under the hood, right? So without the manager's knowledge. So it's very difficult for you to actually quantify this. But takeaway is it is spreading like wildfire. Having said that, while the adoption rate is pretty good, but what about the depth and the quality of the usage? Right? It's very extremely important. Here's where I would credit this term, right? A glorified dictionary usage. Eric Brynjolfsson, right? He's a very seasoned guy. He's been tracking this. He's an economist by training, but he writes extensively about the digital technology. For the last at least 20 years, I've been tracking him with all his writings and this stuff. He coined this term, right? What he says is today, he calls it akin to a productivity tax. This is here is like a fantastic tool you have, but largely the companies and the employees, you're pretty much scratching the surface of Gen AI technologies, right? It's like basic tasks like, say, translation, summaries, summarizing meetings, right? Minutes of the meeting. Instead of you taking minutes of the meeting, you record this and then put on AI transcript, right? And for simple information retrieval, cross-check, editorial, translation, right? Like pretty much composing. If I need to give this talk here, can I ask ChatGPT or Copilot to write it for me? So pretty much it's a glorified dictionary usage in his words, right? I'm just quoting Eric Brynjolfsson. So at this point, the depth of the usage or adoption of Gen AI is pretty sketchy, I would say. It's very unclear. That's what even McKinsey's fire found. Their survey is also finding it's very in experimentation or largely in the piloting phase. Today, this year, 2026 should mark the first thing where all this experimentation should come to a good phase wherein all the workloads are in the production environment. The first set of results you'll begin to see in 2026 and mid of 2027. Over the next 12 to 18 months, you will see a lot of action on the real production environment. So far, the journey till 2024-25 has largely been experimentation in various piloting phases. Right? Now, the last line here, right, the indices, is very important for you. Where is the real economic value of AI, right? Here, I'm very, very clear. The industry is also tending towards this. It's not in replacing the humans. It's in augmenting the human capability, right? So that you're able to infuse the agentic AI capability in the human workflows. I'll give you a simple example. In LTM, when I work with all the GCC leaders, one of our primary pitch is, look, you don't need to lift and shift the business process assets. Of course, you're going to get your cost arbitrage when you're going to lift and shift any business process to India, but that's suboptimal in my view, right? What you should do is, while you're lifting, you need to transform your process so that your transformed process is future fit and future ready in the GCC that you're going to set up in India, so that you have a next generation of business process and operations. So that's exactly where the augmenting your existing human capability comes in. I'll give you a simple example. Imagine Anand is an account payable analyst, right? Take order to cash or any financial CFO office process. My job is to process invoices and release payments. Today, for example, in any company, any order to cash or accounts payable process is largely manual, right? 60-70% would be manual, 20-30% would be automated. Many of it would be in multiple Excel spreadsheets and so on and so forth. With the trained agentic AI agent, what you can do is you can mimic what Anand is doing, try to automate at least, say, today if Anand is 60-70%, 20-30% is automated out, flip it, make it, the human in the loop should reduce to about 30-40%, and the agent should take over, AI agent should take over 60-70% of all the work, right? All the rule-based standardized work should be done. The human in the loop component, Anand's component, should come down. Anand should be only on exception basis, right? So that's exactly where our pitches to all the GCCs, to all the CIOs, and that is exactly where the industry is tending to. So the operative word is how you use agentic AI capability, how you infuse it in the human workflows. Today, human has a dominant share, and over a period of time, the share of human component is going to come down, but you're not replacing it, but you're going to augment it. Why should Anand do all the drudge work? So that's the key. So now coming to the productivity paradox, right? While you see a lot of these announcements, right? You talk about, hey, you know what? Claude has released this new plugin, and lo, you know what? Everything is going to change. COBOL is going to modernize. The platform modernization is going to happen overnight. Take it from me. Anything can't be much further than truth than this, right? I'm starting with this paradox. This Robert Solow is very famously attributed to him, right? He said about in 70s, 80s, right? You can see computer age everywhere, but in the productivity statistics. And there is a lot of truth here. In the last 27 years of my experience in the industry, I've gone through multiple transformation programs. I know what I'm saying here. I'm going to take this J curve, productivity curve, and I'm going to double down on what it takes to drive any transformation program. Take it from me. I have done this as a business process reengineering consultant using Six Sigma tools. I have done this using digital technologies. I've done this through all these automation tools ranging from intelligent process automation to robotic process automation. With every technology pivot, right, we have seen the transformation journey playing itself out in exactly the same form. This is going to be the front and center of this discussion. Take it from me. any AI-led transformation, especially enterprise grade, take it from me, any AI-led transformation program, enterprise grade transformation, this is extremely important. Okay. First, step one, any general purpose technology, right? They do not simply improve an existing process. Keep in mind, underlying the operating word is they do not improve existing processes. They reconfigure systems. They reshape how decisions are made, how value flows across an organization, and how accountability is structured. Extremely important. And AI is particularly very revealing in this regard, right? It does not merely automate isolated tasks. It embeds decision logic within the architecture, whether it be the pricing, whether it be the risk allocation, workflow routing, customer engagement, operational sequencing. They're increasingly expressed through algorithms. We are not just talking about simple step A to step B automation. There is a decision logic embedded at every step. There is pretty much like a near human is thinking and iterating. So to harness that capability, organizations must invest in what I would call as the complementary intangibles, right? That's what economists call them. In terms of redesigned processes, clarified governance, strengthened managerial capability, retrained workforces, and reconfigured operating models. It's extremely important. Unless you invest in all these intangibles, your ability to incorporate and infuse this agentic AI or the AI capability in the workflows dominated by human beings today is going to be virtually be impossible. You're not going to go anywhere near that. So as you do all these things, these are all real investments. So it takes time. It absorbs time. It takes a lot of time, attention, and most importantly, political capital. People who have done on the call or done who have been participation or you're participating in any large transformation programs can relate to what I'm saying. You need to mobilize the entire stakeholder. You need to convert many of the vested interest groups in the organization as you walk down the transformation journey. So that's exactly what you see is a downward period. If you see the downward stroke of the J curve, so that's exactly is the time where you spend a lot of time, where you do all these investments, but still, actually the productivity when you embark, it goes down. Take it from me, I've seen this multiple instances, I've seen this. But that's not the sign of dysfunction. It's a structural investment you're doing. It's not dysfunction, it is structural investment. It's an intangible, right? Now, when is a curve coming? As this curve, as you see, it slowly comes up. It takes a lot of time again, right? The curve begins at the current state of performance, right? It goes through a trough, and that's exactly where most of the transformation programs fail, right? That is the phase it is interpreted as underperformance, whereas in reality, take it from me, it's transition period. In many a time, transitions keep happening forever, right? Because they have missed a ball, missed the trick. And as the time prolongs, many of these large transformation programs come to a grinding halt for the simple fact that people don't have patience or they have missed the trick completely. That's exactly where large transformation programs fail. And typically the companies turn around and say the technology is at fault. No, in my experience, technology is the last to carry the blame. Technology is not to be faulted, right? So the crucial question is whether when the performance dips, in my view, it's expected and that is predictable, I would say, right? The decisive issue is whether the organization or the company that you're working with is able to invest sufficiently in all the complementary capability or the intangibles, as I talked about, to move beyond this disruption stage into sustained uplift, right? That's exactly where you'll be tested, right? That green trajectory that you're seeing in this chart is very instructive, right? So that's exactly where the entire change management has to be orchestrated. So it's not going to be like a cloud plugin or some magic AI wand is going to come in, you plug it, and it's going to go through it. No, it calls for enormous amount of effort. Change management, change has to be mobilized across the company, right? So in my experience, I would call as a structural imbalance in any capital allocation, any large transformation project. If I look at any large transformation project budget, say $200 million, $300 million over a 3-5 year period, 80 to 90% is allocated towards technology and infrastructure. At best, 10-20% goes towards the intangibles in terms of change management, which is the most crucial thing. Take it from me. Without orchestrating change management, whether it is in a GCC context or in any other context where you're driving large-scale transformation, it's a non-starter. But typically, 80% of the budget goes in the tangible area. The intangibles like leadership alignment, your governance, your operating model redesign, your collective capability, your upskilling, Generally, psyching the organization on the orchestrating the change management gets a very, very little portion of it. Take it from me. So precisely it's because of the reason, right? You typically what you say, this is the soft side of the organization. Change management is often called as the soft side, right? And it's a misnomer, right? Because of this terminology, calling it a soft side, this language, hard and soft, has over a period of time distorted the investment logic itself, right? That's my view as a practitioner. Technology is treated as capital. Infrastructure is treated as capital, whereas the organizational capability is treated as overheads. Mark my word, right? Technology, infrastructure, all these things will find an item in the balance sheet because these are all hard assets. Whereas bringing in the organizational capability, change management, which is all the intangibles, is classified as overheads. That's how accounting treatment is right now. And so that's how these systems are celebrated. Alignment is justified, very, very defensive. That's my experience. So when you see this, when the leaders are misaligned, when the misalignment happens like this, productivity leaks are inevitable right now. When the roles are unclear because you haven't invested in all these things, AI-enabled workflows stall, right? The collective capabilities are uneven, workers are not fully trained, teams are not fully bought in, transformation fragments into local adaptations, right? Rather than enterprise uplift. It'll be good. You look very, very good in parts, what we would call as a watermelon effect, right? If you see the watermelon, outside everything will look green, but tear it open, it's red inside, right? So in parts, when you do all these patchy work transformation, as it's called, typically what you get is a watermelon effect, right? In parts, you'll look good, but the sum of parts, the whole, will be red, right? So in my experience, AI is a test of this organizational coherence. Extremely, extremely important. Because what AI does is it amplifies this entire dynamic, right? Because AI systems encode decision logic into the architecture, any ambiguity in governance, accountability, or purpose becomes embedded at scale. Keep it in mind. It's extremely important. If the incentives are misaligned, automated systems propagate distortion. There are countless examples. Just Google it up, right? Countless examples are there. If leaders are not aligned around the value proposition, optimization routines generate unintended consequences. If the capability gaps remain unaddressed, right, adoption fragments across silos. That's exactly what happens. So in these cases, it's not the technology to blame. Technology does not fail at all. The organization fails to integrate it coherently, right? Not through incompetence, but through underinvestment in leadership and underinvestment in orchestrating this entire change management. That's why this J curve is extremely important, because as practitioners, as you adopt this shiny new tool of AI and Gen AI technology, as you infuse it in your organizational workflows, keep this extremely important. This J curve should be your Bible, should be your mantra right now. So it's extremely critical in my view. For us at LTM, transformation or any AI-led transformation is disciplined formation of coherence, right? Across leadership, across operating models, and the customer architecture. Context is extremely important for us. That's our experience. That coherence does not emerge spontaneously. It is orchestrated, it is carefully orchestrated. Nothing is spontaneous. It requires shared language, structured alignment, and sustained capability development, right? And that has to be embedded into governance. I'm repeating, it requires a shared language, right from the CEO to the last employee in the program in the company should have the shared language, why they're doing it, and the mind should be shared across, bought across. You should have a structured alignment, sustained capability development, embedded and underpinned by a robust governance structure. So that's been my experience. If you get all these ingredients right, especially the intangibles right, you are set for success. So to close loop on this J curve, right? Performance does not arise because your systems are purchased, right? Take it from me, the cost of compute is going to go down every other day. The cost of compute, ever since ChatGPT got released and deepfake came in, you see the cost of compute is going to go down. When everybody can access to all these shiny new technologies, new plugins, take it from me, nobody has a competitive advantage. So what is going to differentiate the winners from the also-rans? It is not because you're able to purchase these shiny new gadgets or plugins. The difference is between implementation and transformation, between activity and economic return, between disruption and durable uplift. Right? It's extremely important. Anybody can buy all these things off the shelf, but the trick is in orchestrating it, infusing it by investing in the leadership and in the entire change management orchestration. Now, this is very important, right? This is a long-running debate between Eric Brynjolfsson and Robert Gordon. You can just Google it up. There is a lot of YouTube debate. This debate goes back to 2012, 2013. This is at least 12, 13 years old. The bet is whether the digital technologies, Eric Brynjolfsson is the bull in this case, right? Robert Gordon is the bear. So in this debate, the bet is still $400. What is the bet? US long run productivity, right? Over the last, say, 10 years, if you take 10-year cuts between 2010, 2020, is about 1.4, 1.5% productivity rate. So Robert Gordon belongs to the camp where he says these new technologies, digital technologies, call it AI, ML, all these things, they don't simply add up. They're not going to give you that material lift. Whereas Eric Brynjolfsson comes from the other side of the tent. He says that, look, currently all these things are all understated, right? The conventional GDP numbers, GDP statistics is not capturing all these things, but over a period of time, he firmly believes that the AI technologies, Gen AI adoption, as you go through this J curve, productivity curve, the American productivity will be in the 2.4, 2.5% range, from 1.5% to 2.5%. In fact, in Jan 2026, in the first month this year, he wrote a piece in Financial Times, right? What he says is, in the Financial Times, the Bureau of Labor Statistics has published their latest numbers. It is end of January 2025 numbers. That data which releases, what it says is the total payroll growth in the United States for 2025 came down by 403,000 jobs, right? These are US Bureau of Labor Statistics numbers for the end of 2025, right? I'm just quoting from Eric Brynjolfsson Financial Times article. You can just Google it up. 403,000 jobs were down for 2025. But still, the GDP for 2025 was about 3.7% in the fourth quarter, right? So keep in mind, fourth quarter 2025, payroll down 403,000, but the GDP growth in the US was up 3.7%. So this is the decoupling. On one hand, you have a high output. On the other hand, you have reduced payroll. So this clearly he's attributing that to the AI, the agentic AI adoption of all these digital technologies input. All these things are getting attributed there, saying that, look, this is a classic example of the jaw widening here. Pretty much the productivity is beginning to take off like a curve like this, right? But these are very early days, just 1 quarter data, or at best 1 year 2025 data. By the back of the envelope calculation, for 2025, US may register about 2.4, 2.5% growth right now. So, but again, these are like a 1 quarter, 1 year data, but it has already started registering. Keep in mind, that is the key point, right? The productivity curve, the J curve, is beginning to slowly take a turn towards up, right? That is at a macro level, you're already able to see it, but though that's a 1 quarter or at best a 1 year 2025 phenomenon, but we need to see how this plays itself out. So that's why I thought is very, very important. There's one more study which I want to bring to this audience. Typically, right, whenever there is a period of rapid technological change, right, there is always anxiety about whether there is going to be job losses, whether AI is going to mass displacement of workers and all that stuff, right? First, upfront, the good news is here is a study done by some of the leading professors from Stanford Business School, from MIT, and from Stanford Digital Labs, right? Menaka Hampole, Dimitri, Lauren Schmidt, Brian. So you can just Google up. These are all available in the NBER, National Bureau of Economic Research paper. The good news is they took this study from 2010 to 2023, a 13-year data cut they took, and they studied. They took various job groups, especially the job families which are most exposed to AI, right? It is a white-collar jobs, right? Highly paid. This is at the 90th percentile of the job on the income curve, right? On the wage distribution, they're all the 90th percentile. These are all the white-collar jobs which got heavily exposed to these AI interventions. The news is, that's a takeaway here, right? Despite very strong substitution at a task level. So what is happening is, look, Anand is an analyst. So some of the parts, Anand does 25 things. There is one more great example, right? There is a study done by Nitin. He's a Harvard economist. You can Google up his study on the radiologist, right? A typical radiologist in the US is supposed to do 27, 26 steps. Out of the 27, 26 steps, some steps can be done by AI. That doesn't mean that radiologists in the US is going to pack their bags home. No, They're going to, with all these productivity aids thrown in, they're going to become more efficient radiologists. That's the takeaway, right? So it has to be a radiologist augmented with AI and agentic AI capability. Similar thing, this study also shows over a 13-year period, what the study clearly tells you is as firms infuse agentic AI capability, infuse it in the workflows, what typically happens is Anand is doing, say, 80% today is manual, 20% is automated, comes in this agentic AI. You take another 10, 15% of my drudge work, and you're going to make me even more efficient. It doesn't mean Anand is going to lose his job. Instead, Anand is going to do more value-added work instead of covering, say, 10 companies or say 20 companies as a research analyst. Instead of covering one sector as a sell-side research analyst writing reports, I'll be covering, say, two sectors. If I'm covering one sector, 50 companies or 25 companies, I'll be able to cover 50 or 100 companies, right? So my productivity is going to go up. Just because at a task level, my productivity is high, doesn't mean that my role is going to go away. This is what it is saying, right? As reduced demand and exposed occupation, right? Clearly the takeaway is offset by productivity-driven increases in labor demand at AI adopting firms. It's very counterintuitive, but that's a good news for you, right? Imagine like this, as AI take over some tasks, workers will typically tend to reallocate their effort towards other tasks that remain difficult to automate, right? Thereby, your productivity level goes up. Second, the AI adoption boosts the firm productivity and the growth. Typically, when firm productivity goes up and the growth also goes up, what will happen? Typically, firms tend to hire more, right? That's the converse of it, right? So including corporations with higher exposure. So these mechanisms, typically this is at play, this factor at play. At a task level productivity, you free up my time. I'm able to focus on more productive work. As my productivity goes up, as the organization productivity goes up, I tend to hire more of people to make the organization more. It's a virtuous positive cycle. That's what begins to kick in, right? So that highlights why a task level substitution need not translate into lower aggregate demand for exposed occupations. So that's a news for you. So put all these AI related bogey fears about mass displacement of workers out of the corporate world. Nothing of the sort. There is hardly any evidence. This is one of the best research available. This is publicly available. I have given the link to it, right? You can go Google it up. This is all publicly available in the NBR, National Bureau of Economic Research. And this paper number is also, I can just share with you. It's a working paper 33509. You can Google up, right? NBER working paper 33509. You can get this data. So tomorrow, if your students are worried about will AI result in mass displacement of jobs and other stuff, here is the answer to the paper. The best of the empirical evidence available today doesn't support that. Hardly any dent in the overall labor market in the United States. Now, the biggest question is what? There's the AI and the Indian IT services, right? Especially in the last 4-6 weeks, we're seeing a lot of polarized commentary. And here is my answer to that. So where do I stand? I'm a bull here, right? The base case scenario, as we see today, it's a $300 billion opportunity. And where does it come from? One, there is a World Economic Forum in December of 2025. They put out some numbers to it. Here is my simple back of the envelope calculation for you, right? Study after study estimates the entire tech debt, the accumulated tech debt at an industry level, at an aggregate level, is about $3 trillion, right? You take whether it's IDC, Gartner, Forrester, you name any of these blue chip analyst firms, the tech debt is estimated at $3 trillion. So now, with the advent of Anthropic, with all the AI plugins, large language models, right? The total of all AI put together, right? Assume that you're able to unlock all these tech debt. Say 10% of this technology debt can be unlocked and modernization work can begin to kick in, and you orchestrate the transformation, walk down the J curve that I talked about, right? If you're able to do it, just 10% of it, $3 trillion tech debt, and modernize it, that's a $300 billion opportunity. To put this in context, the entire Indian IT services exports for 2025 is less than $300 billion, about $287 billion odd, right? So that's the scale of opportunity as we are looking at currently. First and foremost, right? One, where is the opportunity lying? One is, if you look at, I'm just going to paraphrase a bit, right? Straight away, you can say modernization of legacy systems, technology debt, right? If you look at any technology firms today, right, they all have grown by mergers and acquisition, right? technology is, of course, a big dimension to it. And it's all about having AI native architecture in today's context. But there is a whole business dimension to this, right? Businesses were not born yesterday or day before yesterday, right? A Bank of America or a JP Morgan, they've been growing through decades and decades through mergers and acquisitions. They've grown. So the business dimension and the business context is extremely important. And these firms know it very well. The business cannot be run in the old way. These businesses have to change, and their customer journeys have to change. And all these things have to be changed. While there is a technology change, there is also a business change. There is a context change. Their customers need to change. Their internal employees need to change. So this entire thing has to be orchestrated in a seamless way. It's a huge, huge challenge right now. So how do you make this AI work, right? This entire orchestration. So the jobs are going to change. The operating model. How are you going to make this operating model work at scale? How do you get a firm with hundreds and thousands of employees to change and all of these things and make it work, right? So, and now another big change is there, right? Keep in mind, you come from a world of deterministic world, where in technology, A plus B is equal to C, 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. From deterministic, you're shifting into a probabilistic world. Keep in mind, right? What is probabilistic? If 5 people sit and give a prompt to an AI, to a chat GPT or a Gemini or to a Copilot, the chances are that you will get different responses, right? So how are you able to make this shift into the probabilistic world and make this probabilistic technology work in a deterministic world, where I can't afford to have a probabilistic kind of, I need a deterministic output in terms of my service delivery. It has to operate at scale. It has to be real time. The uptime should be 99.9999%, or if not, roughly 100%. I can't afford to have any slips. Any slip is very, very costly, right? So that's a fundamental mental change you're going to go through it. It's like an open heart surgery, right? It's going to be a surgery of existing operations. You're going to rip open the technology stack. You're going to rip open the business stack, and you're going to infuse these new technologies as I walk through in the J-curve transformation program, right? Now, on one side, right, if you look at the financial drain, if I look at any large legacy company, right, whether it be a bank, financial institution, large company in any sector, even big tech firms, right, there is a huge financial drain. If you take any budget of any large bank or any financial institution or any company, typically they spend 70 to 80% of their IT budget will be just to keep the daylights going, right? Just to run their existing systems, maintenance. 15-20% goes in change budgets. That's exactly where it comes for about all these AI technologies and all that stuff, right? Any new digital technologies, just to change the way they work. Now, this has to change. Now, with the advent of AI technologies coming in, right, this has to flip. Because the reason is, just by putting 70 to 80% of your overall budget and just keeping the legacy systems carries zero business value today, right? You're not adding anything to it. So they need to flip. So there is a push is very hard. Today, the reason for modernization is real. It's very serious because AI is knocking at your doors. So for you to do that modernization today, it's no longer a luxury. I will do it, or can I do it? No, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. When are you going to do it? And you have the budgets to do it. For that, go back to the J curve. You need to draw productivity, get the productivity, those cost savings, take those cost saved dollar and invest in these new technologies. So there is a clear mandate. Organizations are compelled to walk down this path and invest and modernize the legacy and modernize the core. The second reason, right? If you look at all these legacy firms, the data is all in silos. For example, take JP Morgan, a mighty bank. It grew through multiple tens and hundreds of acquisitions, right? With every acquisition of a new bank or a new company coming into the fold, you have new legacy platforms, legacy silos with all the data stored in multiple silos, right? So they are not amenable for any AI treatment, because data itself is in multiple silos. The organization, the bank itself will not know. One arm of the bank will not know from the other what the other bank has about Anand Chandramouli's data. Take a simple example like HDFC Bank. For example, I'm banking with the good old HDFC, and the bank has all the details about my home loan record. And what's the chance that the HDFC credit card arm has all the data about Anand, the credit card side of it? And what's the guarantee the HDFC mutual fund has all the data which the mortgage provider has? So these are all the big question marks, right? So these silos needs to be broken. So fundamentally, this accumulated tech debt, which is estimated at $3 trillion at a globally at an aggregate level, is now coming for prime time play, right? So that's the first single takeaway. That's the biggest opportunity for Indian IT services. So there are multiple forces here. Now, the second is the build versus buy debate, right? as these new plugins begin to make building new systems very, very easy and economical, right? With every iteration coming in, the cost of compute, the cost of building is going down. So now that's one reason why these SaaS companies are also getting beaten down, right? So today, I need not go and buy an expensive SaaS product, right? Today, with all these plugins coming in, LTM or one of the service system integrators, we can assemble a group of 10, 15 engineers, get these plugins and work around the workflow as I walked you through the transformation journey, which we typically do in any digital transformation project. We can pretty much custom build from ground up. The traditional argument of build versus buy, that is undergoing a change. Now, in our view, the balance of power is shifting towards build, right? For the first time, thanks to all these plugins, the Claude plugins, and all the LLMs and all these AI technologies coming in, the balance of power is shifting towards build argument, right? So advantage, system integrators, IT service providers, who's going to build all these things for these companies, right? And the most important thing is what we're seeing is the speed with which the AI technology is evolving, right? So the innovation cycles are pretty much getting crushed, right? So you're operating in this context where the AI is evolving at a lightning speed and the innovation cycles are getting crushed, right? Is extremely important. The way to look at it is as follows, right? I'm sure many of you would have read this book, The Innovator's Dilemma, where Clayton Christensen made this. Is a very powerful graph. And in fact, Satya Nadella also wrote a blog post in January of this year, right, where he talks about the model overhang. It's nothing but a technology overshoot, right? This is what Clayton Christensen wrote in 25, 30 years back now, right? What he says is that when any typical new technology comes in, right, the pace of the technology project, the progress, that's the dark blue line, right? It's very, very fast. That automatically creates a gap between the technology capability is evolving at a much faster clip than the ability of the companies to adopt and adapt to it and adopt it and use that technology, right? There is always a gap. This is exactly what is happening today in the AI world. On one hand, billions, just this year, the big four, right? Out of the FANG stocks, right? The big four is going to invest in $650 billion just in data centers. Take it from me, $650 billion. So trillions of dollars are getting pumped into getting the most advanced AI infrastructure architecture in place. So on one hand, the technology is going at a lightning speed where your innovation cycles are getting crushed. On the other hand, how ready are the organizations to use the rate of technology diffusion is a different order, different scale of different magnitude, right? But what is your ability to adopt these technologies and incorporate and infuse it in your workflows, right? That's the gap where we come in. You need somebody, a strong hand who understands the context, who works with the customer, who handholds the customer, takes these technologies, customizes it, integrates it, works through in terms of make it with all the security protocols, make it error-free, right? Make it fail-free, right? It's extremely, extremely important. Coming to this slide, right? This is from the World Economic Forum data. As we are looking at, it's about the talent, right? It's all about talent. Some of the old talent or skills, right? It'll just go away, like your QA testing or development in the application testing, development work, all that stuff. Many of these old work is just going to be sunset. Take it from me. But is it the gloom doom story? No. It is going to generate, as per the World Economic Forum, 170 million new AI jobs. Already we are seeing. 5 years back or 3 years back, did we hear prompt engineers, a role called prompt engineers? No, nobody heard it. Right? Today, that's mainstream. You have AI leaders. You have forward deployment engineers. How many of you heard forward deployment engineers 18, 24 months back, 18 months back, 12 months back? Today, forward deployment engineer is a mainstream designation, mainstream title, right? You have forensic analysts, data analysts we always had, AI leaders. So there is going to be a plethora of new roles going to open up as this AI cycle from its hype phase is going to play itself out, right? So net, we are going to gain about 80, 90 million new jobs, high paying jobs, high productive jobs, right? While the old jobs are going to be sunset very clearly, we are already seeing the evidence of it, not at scale, but in pockets, right? As I told in my earlier the J-curve example, right? In pockets, in steps, we are seeing Anand's work is getting cannibalized, right? A machine can do it much better than me. So Anand need not work there. That doesn't mean Anand is out. No. I'm going to get more productive and I'm going to focus on, as an organizational level, more richer, more valuable jobs. Right? There's always this debate around greenfield versus brownfield productivity impact. Right? Any talk that you see in today, it's all about greenfield productivity. That anybody can do it. Take it from me. Writing a greenfield code is not a big deal at all. Right? Give to a high school kid today, he or she can do it. Take it from me. Millions of lines of data or code can be done in any greenfield environment. The real trick is in a brownfield environment. You go to a messy organization, messy systems, silo, data, platforms. Right? That's the real world. That's exactly where the companies have trillions of dollars locked and invested in their systems. So they have a huge technology debt. They have the data silos and they don't have documents, right? Take it from me. In many of the companies in Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies will be surprised by the lack of SOPs and documentation. You need to pretty much work with these people. Everything is there between the ears, in their head, right? All is tacit knowledge. You need to sit with them and painfully do the SOP, documentation creation. That's my experience. That's our collective industry experience, right? So taking these brownfield systems and modernizing them is one hell of a task. There is a huge area for the entire change management for this system integrators like us, right? And a lot of us get biased, right? Because all these guys who talk about productivity are talking about these greenfield development, right? And that's not the real game. The real game is in taking this AI technology in a very messy brownfield environment, which is carrying a lot of tech debt with multiple data silos, right? That is exactly where, when you unlock those systems, your productivity is going to be, you'll get some decent productivity, right? Otherwise, it's very, very complicated to get from. The effort required, the change management required, the orchestration required to extract productivity from these brownfield environments is very, very, very difficult. That's exactly where Indian IT services companies or the IT services industry in general, system integrators, we are going to play a pivotal role. I'm sure many of you would have seen, right? I referred to this in my opening slide, Claude and COBOL. That's how I would call it, right? Anthropic released one tweet, they put their SOPs and other stuff, right? The Claude, COBOL logic, right? What did they publish? What they said is, look, here is a playbook, right? Using AI to help and analyze and refactor the COBOL codes. That's what Anthropic's promises. And that's a real capability. And by the way, that's nothing new, right? So it's also something IBM does, OpenAI does, AWS does, Microsoft does, and every major system integrator has been seeing and shipping for years. What Anthropic released a week back is nothing new. What they really said is, it's a very straightforward case, right? Today, COBOL handles 95% of the US ATM transactions. 95% of US ATM transactions goes through the COBOL systems. Hundreds of billions of lines runs in production. And the developers who wrote these in 60s and 70s, they all have retired and gone. And today, many universities, or pretty much nobody teaches COBOL in any of these universities or engineering schools. So how do you modernize it? Modernization gets stalled, right? Because the code costs more than rewriting it. It's an enormously expensive activity, right? So that's where Claude Code said, you know what? Anthropic said it can automate exploration, analysis phase, mapping dependencies, and so on and so forth. None of this is wrong. But the way they framed it is completely wrong, right? They crunched the years of modernization into few quarters. And what they left out was the context of it, right? In fact, you should read what the IBM's, the vice president, he wrote in response. And it came about 2 days back as a counter, how IBM formally refuted what they said, what Anthropic said. And you can just Google it up, IBM SVP Rob Thomas. So he published this response this Monday, right? His core argument is very simple. Translating COBOL into Java, from mainframe into Java to modern enterprise system, that's not the value creation is happening, right? The value is created elsewhere, right? The language isn't the source of mainframe value. I'm just quoting it, right? The platform is, right? The example he gave is, see, today, not even 40% of the COBOL runs on mainframe. All the migrations already started, right? COBOL on IBM Z. IBM itself has been modernizing all these things. IBM Z today is a culmination of decades of coupling between the software and the hardware. The analogy he drew was, it's at a process level acceleration, right? It's the input output, the IO optimization, the performance tuning. That doesn't transfer when you move the code. These things need to be orchestrated. Just because translation of code from COBOL to Java doesn't change any of this orchestration. It's heavy engineering. The analogy, it's like an iOS and iPhone. You're pretty much coupling your software and the hardware together, right? It is in that coupling, it is in that integration that entire code modernization is going to happen. That's exactly where the value creation will happen, right? So that is the key trick, right? That's exactly what Claude and Anthropic missed, which IBM clearly rightfully pointed out, right? AI tools, including Claude Code, right? They're genuinely used for understanding legacy COBOL code bases. But the trick is in marrying and coupling the software and the hardware part. That's the most important in any platform engineering. So having said that, as students of ICFAI Business School and practitioners who want to navigate through, as a practitioner, I'm telling you from trenches, so what exactly matters? I would say clearly first principles thinking, right? One of the things when I look for any engineer or young analyst, right? What you need to learn to do is without the tools. A simple example I'll teach you is like when I used to be a kid, I need to memorize the tables, multiplication tables, right? Even when you had calculator, I used to write. One of my homework used to be, I need to write the tables up to the 16th table every day. That used to be my summer homework, right? So even if you have access to tools, you should be in a position to solve a problem with a piece of paper, right? Step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? That builds your rigor in terms of your first principles thinking. You pretty much train your mind to think the way you're going to train a system. You're going to train a large language model. So that first principles thinking is extremely important because unless you know how to solve it with a pen and paper on hand and the fresh paper, take it from me, your grasp, your grip on the subject is going to be very, very low or highly questionable, I would say. So that's the first thing. First principles thinking and reasoning is critical. Second, and the most important is understanding the enterprise context. It's not about coding. It's not about taking one plugins and plug it in a workflow. No. The real trick is in understanding the context. Every company is different, right? I'll give you one of the best agentic AI examples, right? Go back to 2004. The first DARPA challenge happened, right? It was about autonomous cars. 2004, the American Defense Department challenged all the companies to come up with the autonomous car program, right? When? 2004. Today we are in 2026. In how many cities, in how many parts, in how many cities in the world you have autonomous cars dominating the roads? In few American cities, right? It's all on trial basis and experimental pilot projects. These autonomous cars are working. That's a classic case of agentic AI. There is an agent AI driver driving the car autonomously. The car is going. Way back when it started, 2004. That tells you how that context is important, how difficult it is to orchestrate, instrument all these things and make this autonomous car as a pilot project work, right? So the context is key. It's extremely important. If today it's after 22 years, it is still in pilot phases in select few cities, in few roads or in few kilometers, imagine how many decades is going to take it to put that car in the Hyderabad traffic in our roads, autonomous car? I leave it to your imagination. So context is extremely important. Just because you have a shiny new technology, shiny new toy, it doesn't mean, is like a magic wand, things are going to happen. Third is agnostic design, right? It's very important. Don't get enamored of the tool. Don't get locked into any tool, right? Your design, your thinking, because any tool today, the pace of technology evolution is so fast that whatever you're calling as a shiny new tool can become obsolete in a matter of a few months or years, right? So your ability not to get locked into any shiny new tool or technology today, as we're seeing, is extremely critical, right? Then there is for you to extricate yourself out of it, it's a huge change management. It's a huge loss of time and cost, of course, right? And of course, the collaboration across the firm is extremely important because all the knowledge is implicit. Take it from me. All the knowledge which really matters in any company, that's my experience, is all implicit, tacit knowledge. Nothing. Anything which is material or important never gets recorded or never gets coded. Take it from me, right? So how do you make that explicit in one customer journey, right? So the focus should be on productivity. The focus is not on tools or shiny new toys or AI plugins or anything like that, right? Unless you focus on productivity, how much of productivity you're able to get out of those tools, unless you're able to do it, you're going to get false productivity. That's worse, right? And then it's an engineering game. AI engineering is a very different way of doing things. We discussed in detail how the orchestration should be extremely, extremely important. Change management is important, right? And that is a part of the change management, the transition that you all have to do and that we all have to do. And I rest my case. So that's why I'm a bull. It's a minimum. My base case is the Indian IT services opportunity is at least $300 billion. Put that in context again. This year, 2025, entire Indian IT services exports was less than $300 billion. It's roughly 287, right? What got built over the last 30, 30, 40 years, that's the opportunity staring right here. And I'm very conservative here. So with that, I'll close my remarks. I'm open for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for such a long introduction to the landscape of AI. It has helped us understand certain definitions in terms of what AI can do, especially not merely automating certain processes, but adding values at decision points in your process. And also, more interestingly, the productivity J curve that you have applied to the AI transformation is pretty interesting. Although it has taken some time, that was pretty interesting to look at and evaluate how the things are shaping up for us right in front of our eyes this year and in the couple of years that are going to come ahead of us. And of course, towards the end, my eyes were glued on to slide number 27, but that was not coming. And, and I was quite eagerly waiting for the slide number 27, which is a heavy, heavy takeaway for all of us. And lots of questions would have been addressed by looking at the last slide, which is a strong takeaway for those who are already in the IT software area, but also in the leadership roles that people are at various domains as well in non-IT sector as well. Okay, fantastic. Without much ado, I will request Dr. Prasad to start the Q&A. We'll have two clusters of Q&A, although we are way beyond the schedule. We'll try and maximize the opportunity that we have with Mr. Anand Chandramouli. Over to you, Dr. Prasad. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Rao. It's a wonderful introduction, Angaru. We have kind of sunk in and absorbed, where we can actually utilize AI and what we can perhaps do to that. So I'll start with my first question.
Sure.
And this is, at an enabling level. A lot of senior guys sitting around. And you have mentioned, three main things from your discussion. One is that certain things AI will do better, and therefore Mr. Anand can, step up and do something else. This is one thing. The other thing you mentioned is about the brownfield environment, the messiness out there. And the third thing you have done is what to do. You've got, steps there. First principle thinking, understanding the context, focusing on the priority. Now, these things are well laid out. So if you need to look at it as an enabler sitting in an organization and knows that, yes, this needs to be done, what are those soft things which, and you have also talked about the soft things as well as the hard things. What are those soft things that such leaders need to put in place in order to manifest what you have said?
Absolutely. It's a great question. I think this exactly triggers a lot of discussion and interest in any of my interactions with my clients, CIOs, CTOs. Right? First off, I'll start with, you walk into any Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, right? Irrespective of the size, reputation, brand, and other stuff, right? For you to make any transformation program success, right? I'm talking in terms of a GCC context. Right? It could be any large transformation program, right? For it to succeed, you need to get about 2-3 variables right, in my experience, right? First variable that I look for is the presence or the absence of standard operating procedures, SOP, and knowledge documentation. Take it from me. Without that, it's a non-starter, it's a showstopper. First thing is when I look for is, take it from me, 9 out of 10 times, many of these wanted names will not have it in place. Even if they have it, it'll be dated, it'll be sketchy, right? And that's a starting point. Get this first right. Without this, there is no transformation. Whether you set up a GCC in India or you want to do a large any transformation program, right? Onshore, right? It's not possible. Second, watch out for the stakeholder buy-in. Typically, when you do any transformation program, the business case is built at the CFO level or a COO level who will be tasked with championing this. That's a strategy office, right? They will take a very Excel spreadsheet view of things, right? Hey, you know what, Anand, we want to scale it up, the GCC, to say 1,000 FTEs over a 2-3 year period, target an internal IRR of say 18 to 22%. So from the third, fourth year onwards, the project will pay itself back. From the fourth year, it's all black. We'll get back to start making money. There's a fantastic spreadsheet view. I can construct you in 2 hours, right, and give it to you. But when the rubber hits the road, what happens is all the line managers, the line leaders, the LOB leaders, and the functional leaders, that's exactly where. Do they share the same enthusiasm as somebody in the strategy office who created this rosy picture of the scaling up and the payback in 2-3 year time frame? No, that's not my experience. So first is how you're able to socialize this transformation vision and get the buy-in at a level of the LOB leaders and functional leaders. That's extremely, extremely critical. And now double click on that. In my experience, typically the LOB and functional leaders will be dragging their feet. They're not the source of friction, because if you further sit with them and understand, they will tell you exactly the problem. If you walk into any Fortune 500 companies, many of these functional functions and lines of business, you look at one metric you need to watch out for: the ratio of your contract versus non-contract staff, right? In my experience, I can tell you, as the ratio of the contract staff go up, right, your ability to maneuver change or to orchestrate change goes down. In fact, I would call it a direct correlation. In fact, 0.8, even 0.9, right? In terms of a correlation coefficient. It's a direct correlation, I would call it, right? As your percentage of your contract staff go up, your ability to maneuver, orchestrate a change, whether it's setting up a GCC in India or any other large transformation program, is going to go down, right? That's point number one. Why? Incentives are perverse, right? If I'm a contract staff, take it from me, many of these functions have a contract staff for 15, 20, 30 years working as a contract staff in the US, right? The incentives are very perverse. If I'm a contract staff, I don't have any incentive to document my experience and my expertise in a piece of paper. I'm working against myself, my own interest, right? So watch out for this. You need to work with them, win them over your side, get them document your SOPs. Very, very, very important. From your business case to the LOB leaders buy-in, getting their line managers buy-in. Your line managers sit with your contract staff, your regular staff, documented SOPs, know your knowledge, which is your codified or codifiable knowledge, and which is the tacit knowledge. So you need to get this equation right. This is the toughest part before you embark on any transformation program, any GCC setup, right? This is exactly where I spend a lot of time in coaching and having discussion with the CIOs and CTOs who want to embark on the transformation program, right? So to answer this, this is the most important soft side of it that you need to manage or orchestrate within the company if you're embarking on any serious transformation program.
Excellent. So I think if I have to sum it up, there is a buy-in aspect, and there is also some kind of, the tacit becoming a little bit more known.
Correct.
And
True.
working on that. Thank you. I'll come to the second aspect. Now, when you want to unfurl this, and for organizations which are very careful about, and every organization spends its money very carefully, how do you, decide where you need to spend your money? Where do you want to invest, whether it's technology, talent, creating awareness in consumers? So how do you orchestrate this? There are so many sequences, so many iterations. What do you do?
Great question again. As I covered, that is a key point I covered as part of my J-curve discussion. Any transformation program, if there's $100 budget, $85 spent on all your IT, infrastructure, people, direct costs, travel, all that stuff. Anything which is tangible, which you can capture, right? The most intangible part is creating those intangibles, right? Creating that environment, creating the change orchestration, getting your change leaders in place, creating the organizational climate, creating the mind, right? That is the most important. Those are the intangibles. That's where organizations typically tend to underspend and underball the entire effort, because this change orchestration, this intangible investment is what is going to determine all your other 80-85% of the spend that you're going to put in, right? It's like saying, you know what, I'm going to put in all the money, you know what, I'm not going to put in the money for that is going to supply the oxygen for the patient, right? I'm going to invest in every other thing as part of the surgery, as part of the resuscitation of the patient, but not in the oxygen cylinder, right? It's like that. So I would say the intangibles come first. Don't see the intangibles as overheads. Change management and all the leadership that you're going to invest in that's going to determine, as AI begins to come into play, the change is going to be amplified. AI has a tendency to amplify on both sides, right? Unlike the other previous waves of technology. So please get this change orchestration right. Otherwise, any failure is going to be a miserable flop. Take it from me. So it's extremely important to get this right.
Fantastic. I think, I'll take one more question because this is also at the enabler level. On the governance side, when you're doing both of this, what sort of inputs would you like to give?
Oh yeah. See, governance is extremely important. I will restrict the scope of my discussion to the GCC setup, right? So whenever you set up a new GCC in India, the first thing is let's get some of these mental cobwebs away, right? Take it from me, for all the big talk that we see in my GCC, the mindset is GCC is a low cost center, right? It's a cost game, right? The guy who's sitting in the headquarters, right? The guy who's sitting onshore, right? By onshore, I mean, say, US or any of the European locations, right? Onshore. The tendency is to look at India as a distant outpost, it's a cost equation, right? Mentally, that's how they're tuned. So keep that in mind, right? If you're working in a GCC or you're going to do any large transformation program, that is your starting premise. So there is a mental hoop you need to cross, right? Because the person sitting there who's going to observe you with a lot of blinkers on, with a lot of blinders on, right? The drishti, as we say, or rather the lens through which they are going to view you is a bit different, right? So first is you need to earn and win the trust and the confidence. That's non-negotiable, right? How are you going to do it? Cultural alignment is the key. This is extremely important. Before your governance and everything kicks in, your cultural alignment is extremely important. That's a softer part again, right? How flexible are you? How aligned are you with your sponsors' priorities? One is documented SLAs, KPIs, which you will go through it. That's part of the game. That's table stakes, right? But how nimble are you? How agile are you? How aligned are you with your onshore sponsors' business priorities? And how nimble, fleet-footed are you? How you can change all these things on a dime? That's your cultural component. Are you talking the same language, right? If your boss is able to, if your sponsor is clocking weekends, can you keep pace? Can you respond back on emails? Can you jump on a call on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday and answer those questions? So these are all the softer component or the cultural component, right? Extremely important. You need to get that right. Once you get this right, earn the trust and the confidence. Take it from me. There are enough and more examples as I'm talking to you in the city of Hyderabad itself, where we are seeing virtual GCCs in play. Pretty much the people come into the office, manager sits there in Seattle or in some other location, US. They say, hey, you know what? This is the trust and the confidence the team has earned over years, right? So this has been built. Credibility is earned, right? So work goes on like that. And of course, you'll have regular cadences, you'll have regular governance calls, you'll have weekly call, daily touch point call, weekly calls, monthly calls, quarterly QBR calls. So these are all table stakes, which we all know it. But extremely important is that alignment, cultural alignment, value alignment, the softer side of it, right? That's again extremely important. That's how I would say it.
Wonderful. I think what you're also saying is those who are playing this role of enablers and getting into this messy stuff and trying to do the transformation
True.
for the organizations first they need to keep the trust forward going. First develop it and keep it going.
Correct.
And that they have to primarily focus on whether they understand the language of the client or the boss in the case of an inside organization, and also the values and the culture which is getting represented there, and keep that going and build up the trust, and then other things will start working.
True.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you. I have taken 3 questions and we are at 7:45, but I felt it is important.
Sure.
We will need more time. Again, we request you there are other questions, and maybe a couple of people, 2-3 people also raise their hands. Over to Professor Rao.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You should have continued. There is no problem. Today, it is not a time game. Today, it's a learning game. Fantastic. I have a few questions to actually seek clarifications on. Of course, most of it is addressed in some way or the other in terms of the illusion on the productivity or the discussion on the productivities, which way you are depending on the argument. Then the technical debt and the code quality that is coming up again and again in various discussions and various forums. And of course, the employment related discussions and the problems. As far as India is concerned, building models and the power dynamics, and of course, the accountability is the bigger question that people have all the time. But what I am going to do right now, sir, is there are 2 questions in the question box. I think I will prioritize that.
Sure.
So that it caters to the people who have joined for this session and listened to you so far. So the first question I take up is, how ready are Indian ITES companies, both the heavyweights and the second and third line companies? Do you foresee a collaboration instead of a competition amongst the index heavyweights like Infosys, TCS, Tech Mahindra, and companies like that, disrupting, and of course your company also, he cited?
Sure. See, in terms of preparedness, I'm sure, I think, right? So I know where this question is coming from, right? The context is, or rather ever since this AI summit happened in Delhi, many of these people, gurus were, I can take names, Vinod Khosla was saying all these jobs will go away, AI jobs, sorry, IT jobs, BPO jobs will just vanish, all this. So say, look, and a guy like Vinod Khosla, they're talking, he's a futurologist. He takes a very long shot view. That's why I gave this example of that autonomous car. The project got launched in 2004. Today we are in 2026. Few cities, not even few cities, 2, 3 cities, say parts of California, few roads, few highways. That's where it is still autonomous cars are working. Right? So these things take time. But is the threat real? Of course, yes. But you can see in Chinese, right, the risk and the opportunity are the same. Right? The symbol used for the word for risk and opportunities is the same. I'll use the same thing. Have the Chinese view to risk and opportunity. Any risk is an opportunity. Is AI getting the capability of AI is growing multifold with every new plugin release and other stuff? Yes, of course, yes. But is it going to supplant the human being? No, we are nowhere close to that. At best, we are talking about augmenting an existing human capability and making you very, very productive. If you look at now, coming to the specific question, how the index heavyweights in India, what happened to their stock price? All are down 30-40%, right? In TCS is down 40-45% from its peak of 4,500 rupees, right? Now it's about touching 2,800, something like that. So that's a case pretty much. In fact, if I take an Nifty index view, it's about down 28-30%, right? Take away, just go through their commentary. One of the instructive things is in December, TCS wrote a playbook, AI playbook, right? Now, take a look at it. It's publicly available. Last week, Infosys published their AI playbook and the opportunities, right? Some of the things that I drawn is from their presentation. Right? So clearly take a look at that. The answer to the question is there. Every company, right now, IT services provider, be it Accenture, be it Infosys, or HCL Tech, or TCS, every company, including LTM, they all are working. It's not that you're operating in some silos, right? We're all operating in this real world. We are operating every other day. We are having this CIO, CTO conversation. AI is the beginning and ending of any other conversation, right? So every company is working on a playbook, right? Rest assured, we are not operating in any silos here. We understand this game extremely well, right? So it's a long drawn process. It's not going to happen overnight, or it's not a few quarters. This is a decadal game, right? AI technology is shooting up. It's picking up capability at a huge pace. Innovation cycles are getting crushed. Knowledge is getting commoditized. All this is fine. But the question is how we are able to lever that capability, infuse it, and augment the human capability and move towards a new target state operating model, as you would call it, to make it your business and your IT process future fit and future ready. That's the name of the game. And rest assured, each one of us are working. This is where the focus is. And I'm bullish. We will not just survive this. We will ride this wave, not survive. We will ride this wave. Take it from me.
Very optimistic, sir. Thank you so much. The lag is expected. The evidence-based productivity of the technology is something that you wait for and see. And of course, the gains are immense. Very, very optimistic. But in between, you'll always have legitimate doubts, and those doubts have to be clear.
That's part of any cycle. See, look, this is my 27th year in this industry, right? This is how many obituaries we have seen. Correct. Many obituaries were written for this industry. First is Y2K, right? After Y2K, no more projects, right? Then came 2008 financial crisis. No more IT gaya, right? Then came the entire smack stack, social, mobile, all these things, right? The digital technologies came. Intelligent process automation, robotic process automation. Again, obituaries are written, right? Now, there's a fourth or the fifth obituary I'm seeing, which is fine. So this is part of it. See, with any technology pivot, right? You will have sharply polarized views, right? That's why I told, when I was talking with Sudhakar, our professor, I told him, look, I'm a practitioner. I will give you the view from the trench as I'm seeing it. minus all the hype on both sides, right? I'll give you the reality as I am seeing. I have done large transformation programs. I'm doing, and we as LTM, we are doing a large set of large transformation deals we've just won. For your example, we just won a big PAN 2.0 program for Government of India's Income Tax Department. Imagine the entire PAN, the way the PAN cards are going to be administered in this country. The last count is there are 683 million or 68, 69 crore distinct PAN cards floating today in India. And that number is going to go up, right? So, using the AI technologies, using the modern digital technologies, how this entire PAN card program, PAN administration is going to be done in India. We just won, we made this public in January of this year, right? So, take it from me. Each one of us are working on this transformation program, and everybody is cognizant, everybody is aware of it. We are all in the game. Take it from me, it's going to be one interesting ride. Take it from me. That's how we are seeing it. It's a huge opportunity for us to ride this way and win this way.
Good. Across all the tech cycles, across all the crises that we have seen, the patterns seem to be similar. And therefore, the judgments, either though they are in rush, they are validated by the characteristic features of the pattern that you have seen in tech cycle 1 to tech cycle 2 to 3 and 4. There are immense examples in the history that are replete actually, and therefore there's a quick judgment that possible. But people like you, when you provide this kind of perspective from the trenches, your words I'm borrowing, is very, very useful. I'm very happy that today people around the screen are benefited by your perspective, and it helps clear lots of doubts in reposing faith in it and how we should look forward to actually augmenting our own capability. If that's the catchphrase today, we need to just look forward to augmenting our own capability and then ride the wave as you said. Wonderful. I'll request Shailesh Dawla to raise his question.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for such wonderful insights. I had a question regarding the talent dynamics that we saw during COVID, okay, and then soon after. So there was this when the companies, specifically these IT companies, became more sort of middle heavy, right? Then there was this push to cut down on the middle layer and saying that basically like having experience in technology industry was seen more like a liability than sort of an advantage. Okay. Now I think somehow what we are seeing today is that because now with AI, the entry level sort of tasks are becoming more prone to automation and like the easy target for these AI based technology, right? So the middle layer now is more relevant, and whereas the entry level workforce will find difficult to get opportunities. Do you think this is real? And so does it augur well for people who are experienced? So that's one question. And if that is true, and if jobs become scarce for entry level programmers, what's the value of learning programming, and should they even be like embarking on, or like what should they be really doing about it? So
Great question.
what's your viewpoint about the middle folks? Like is like, should they be happy, optimistic? And what about the entry level talent? Should they be concerned? And what's the strategy for organizations now in terms of managing this talent pyramid?
Fantastic question. Thanks, Shailesh. Right. So I'll just take the first part of the question, the middle management and the senior leadership, and versus the juniors, right? The youngsters who are entering in the entry level job, right? That's the first part of the question. Then I'll come to the second part of the question. What should the youngsters do? You would have seen, right? I firmly believe in this very old adage, right? Sunlight is the best disinfectant, right? If I take that as an analogy, right? Is Anand relevant or not? I need only one test, one meeting with my client, with a CIO or a visiting CTO, one client pitch, one RFP orals, one intense review with the client will tell me whether I am relevant today or not. Take it from me. These are the harsh moments of truth. which every individual knows, whether you're senior, middle management, or junior person, right? That's your sunlight. That's a sunlight moment, disinfectant moment. You could come from the technology side, multiple. It could be IT infra, application development, AI, ML, data, whatever it is, right? Multiple streams from the technology side, or you come from the business side, right? But with one moment of truth and interaction with the client, whether you're fit, whether you're future fit, ready, and most important, are you relevant in the client scheme of things, in the larger business scheme of things? This is a simple test. This I would call as a mirror test that every employee, junior, middle, senior, should administer himself or herself. That's the answer, right? I'm telling you, this is a simple test, but a very, very, very crushing, profound test. Simple mirror test. It'll tell you, are you fit? Are you ready or not? You know it very well. So better take the corrective action. That's my answer. Second thing, the juniors, how should, with entry level jobs getting codified? That's exactly what that NBAR research that I was citing, right? That also is alluding to, but not at scale, right? But definitely, what characterizes a junior employee, right? Somebody who comes with a lot of textbook knowledge, which is essentially means codified knowledge. Somebody who can do whatever is written down either in textbook or in a standard operating procedure in a manual, and you will follow the steps 1 by 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and repeat it, right? And do it, execute it. So is that core job going to be safe? Definitely not. So what's going to do? Here's a smart youngster, 22, 23-year-old, fresh MBA with 6 months experience or 1 year experience. You hired him or her as an analyst. So why should they do what Anand used to do as an analyst 25, 30 years back? Why should I go through multiple books? I still remember going to college libraries, taking books, taking Xerox copies or photocopies, right? And then creating a report. Then it became Google, right? Now, why should the same analyst I'm hiring from ICFAI Business School from your school should go through what Anand went through 50, 20 years back or 30 years back? So today a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Copilot can do all this research in a jiffy and give it to you. So does it mean the ICFAI MBA grad is going to be unemployed, or we cannot put them to good use? No. From a coder, if you're a technical person, should you write codes, or how do you need to visualize yourself or think yourself? That's where the first principles thinking comes in. If you visualize yourself as an analyst who will do all these step by step, if you visualize your life as a coder who will write codes, then your thinking needs to change, because that thinking is ripe and ready for automation, thanks to AI, Gen AI and other stuff. The moment you rethink your role, you're not a coder, you're a problem solver. You're not an analyst who's going to write these steps. You're going to synthesize all this information and draw insights and add value. The moment you think on these lines, no technology is still available today, to the best of my knowledge, which can do this to you. So the time is ripe. The way you're looking at your role, don't think that you're a coder. No, coding is commoditized. But what is important? The brownfield versus greenfield. While you are able to code at skill, you're able to modernize all the COBOL lines which are written 50 or 40 years back, thanks to the latest one, Anthropic, right? Claude, right? But the real trick is how you're able to take it, that technology, that power to translate the COBOL codes written 40 years back and put it in a client environment, understand the messiness in a brownfield environment. Typically take a bank, right? Take any ATM, right? 95% of the US ATM data passes through these COBOL codes, right? How messy the system is. They all gone through mergers and acquisitions, right? So think yourself as a problem solver, a system analyst, as a business analyst, or a technology analyst, a transformation driver, right? Change agent, right? Once you see yourself as an engineer who's there to engineer a solution, take it from me, I see a huge opportunity, a huge runway, at least next 10 years of runway of growth for youngsters coming into the system here. That's how I'll answer the question.
All right, sir. Great. Thank you. We have been like talking about this greenfield and brownfield, right? Can you point to some statistic which says that how much of application space today is greenfield versus brownfield? Like, I totally understand enterprise is totally brownfield with like all these ERPs, and then your financial ERPs, manufacturing, all the custom logic code which has gone into. But how about like greenfield?
See, the world I come from, I'm 100% brownfield.
Right.
I work only in brownfield environment. I work for a client, and the client has a context, right? So with my worldview is 100%. That's exactly where you see these very sharply polarized commentary. Somebody coming from a startup environment who doesn't understand, or who don't, I'm not blaming them. They won't get it, right? Unless you get into the neck deep of the client's environment, the client's context, you don't understand how messy that system is, right? Anything that you see from the world of analysts, from the world of startups, from the world of these new players who come in with these new plugins, that is your greenfield. That's where they come from, right? There is a fresh paper approach, right? If you give me these process, step 1 to step 10, take a simple account payable process, right? All that I need to do is collect the invoice, make the payment. Simple. It'll take 10 steps to do it. If I take a fresh paper view, in your ideal fresh paper view, this entire 10 steps can be AI'd out. An AI agent can sit and do it. 100% productivity. You don't need any human interface at all. Probably where 100 people, 100-member manual team used to do, probably you can do it with, say, 5-member team. But that's not the reality. That's your greenfield view. That's a typical startup view, typical analyst view. When you come down, when you look at the account payable has to be orchestrated between multiple departments, multiple silo teams with multiple data silos, with some parts of it is paper, some parts of it is Excel, some parts of it is scanned documents, then the reality hits you. That's my world. That's my client's world. That's the brownfield world. So I come from 100% brownfield environment. That's where the friction comes in. It's a different way of looking at things. Did I answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, sir. But even in like I've been working, and like I've been in this IT industry for about 20 years now. And while the other technologies that we sort of came across, like talk about that SMAC thing, okay, those all seemed like an opportunity in terms of upgrading or like moving to a new technology, which clearly was an opportunity. Somehow my sense tells me that here like software is eating a part of my work, okay, and that's how at least I am seeing that a lot of the things that I used to do previously, these technologies are actually able to do a pretty good job of that. Okay, so again, like as a product manager, I work as a product manager, and I see that actually great like these LLM technologies are doing phenomenal job. Okay, and they are already very smart, and many of the process steps, like if you talk about the 10 steps of the process, they can actually very well do, I would say, like 7 to 8 steps. Okay, only they lack the context, which is what I kind of provide. Yeah, so there is this fear. I am like good to hear that that the jobs are secure, at least for us, and yeah, but
No, no.
yeah.
So I won't say secure, right? Security
Yeah.
is like, see, I come from the world of equity markets, right? So nothing is guaranteed or secure, right? The key simple test is you need to test that market temperature every day, right? You need to make yourself relevant. As long as you feel you're relevant, take it from me. Your relevance gives you that security, right? It's not the other way around.
Right.
The other thing
Right.
is that software eating the world. When did we last hear this? At least 10, 12 years back,
Sure.
right? So
Yes.
software is still continues to eat the world, and the scope of the world just keeps expanding.
Right.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Shailesh. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
I know you want to keep talking to sir because it's
Sure.
good.
Love to talk.
Yeah,
Same here.
we can catch up with sir a little later, maybe offline. Okay, I'll request now Dr. Amit Badra to raise his question.
Oh, thank you, Professor Sudhakar Rao. Mr. Anand Chandramouli, that was brilliant and very, very relevant and interesting. Thank you very much. I have an interest in Industry 4.0 and Industry 5.0, and that is very, very significantly AI driven. Without AI, it is dead. So,
Absolutely.
to what extent do you see the interest in implementing Industry 4.0 and the AI systems in the manufacturing sector. Is it just a theory, or is there something really happening in industry?
Huge. I think, sir, Mr. Amit, right? So, very pertinent question. I think physical AI is going to be, in my book, the flag bearer of the advent of the AI age, I would say, right? The kind of possibilities when you can couple the agentic AI, the AI capability plus the robots in a physical environment is the deadliest combination. We're already seeing it. Go to earlier, it used to be Tesla factories are so super robotic driven, automated, and all that stuff. Now, when the BYD came in, you walk to the Chinese EV manufacturer, right? They taken the automation and robotic technology to a new, different order, different level, right? So, in my book, the physical AI part of it, infusing AI technology, agentic AI capabilities in the real world, the physical world, running factories, running assembly line, in supply chain, in logistics, in warehouses, right? In medical technologies, right? So this is exactly where some of the cutting edge work is happening, and I expect it to happen now. More compared to the service environment, which is already largely saturated with a lot of automation. Your ability to draw incremental productivity efficiency gains in a service environment, which is highly already largely automated, is going to be far lower than what you're going to see in the physical world. So I'm a big champion of it. As a company, if you know LTM, we are part of the larger L&T, Larsen & Toubro Group. So we are super bullish on the manufacturing because we are engineers at heart by DNA, at DNA, right? So it's an engineering company, engineering procurement construction company. We are super bullish in terms of the manufacturing, logistics space, in terms of defense, right? You know, L&T has huge interest in that area. So in terms of pharma, life sciences, defense, and auto, both on the original equipment manufacturing side as well as on the ancillary side, especially more on the battery technologies, EVs, future of mobility. So we as a company, we are doubling down big time in all these areas. So we are super bullish in this area.
Do you think a lot of that is happening in India as well?
Huge.
Huge.
In fact, the kind of GCCs I am seeing, right? You take this GCC journey in, say, in two parts. Pre-COVID, post-COVID. Pre-COVID, there are about 700, 800 GCCs. Today, as I'm talking to you in 2026, beginning, start, there are about 2,000 odd GCCs. So post-COVID, it is pretty much like a hockey stick. It exploded. 1,200, 1,300 GCCs got added in the last 4 or 5 years. And if you look at who's took this lion's share of these GCCs, you can broadly see 3 broad clusters developing, right? One is a lot of defense companies. In fact, last November I can't name it here, but you can clearly find it out. India just signed a huge contract with a company, a French company. That's a giveaway to you. They're setting up a GCC, all right? So when I was speaking with the director, he told me clearly, look, at peak, we're going to employ about 170, 180 engineers, technologists in this area to run this entire thing. Right? So you can imagine the degree of automation that they're envisaging as they put this manufacturing plant up in India. Right? As part of the deal is everything will be manufactured in India. You know what I'm talking about, right? So defense is one area where we are seeing phenomenal uptake. Second is in auto, both on the original equipment manufacturing OEM side as well as in the auto ancillary space. Within the auto ancillary, battery technology, future of mobility, all that stuff. And in pharma and life sciences, the kind of drug trials is happening around just in the city of Hyderabad right now. So some of the fantastic work is getting done in these areas to give you some flavor.
I have many questions, but thank you very much. Maybe we can have a discussion offline some other time.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anand.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Ditto, I have many questions, but we'll take it offline. But instead of questions, I think we should summarize now very in simple terms. It's been a fantastic session, sir. Thank you for your patience. You have handled all the questions that have been raised so patiently. In the overall scenario of this AI landscape, there are many confusions. That is for sure. The confusions arise, and there is a solution also which you have described. One, in terms of rethinking the roles, very, very practical, which can be taken up by all of us here, and also those who are not here who can go back and listen to this video. This session will be very helpful for them to understand how do you define your own role. I think that's where it starts. The first principles thinking definitely comes in as a handy tool for you. And the mirror test that you have prescribed is also very good. In a context of a client, if you apply yourself for a discussion, for a pitch, then you will come to know that what is called moment of truth. And then the clarity emerges whether you're relevant or not. I think that's very, very practical. The confusion also is dragged into the talent management area. Once the role is clear, the way you define your role for yourself is clear, the questions on the talent management will vanish. But then the talent management questions are in terms of, understanding the human in the loop, because there's oversupply of literature now. The oversupply of literature is also one of the things, and especially in the beginning stages of explosive growth of any particular technology, this is bound to happen. So job displacement, misunderstanding of human in the loop, all these things are adding and augmenting it to the confusion that we already have. Some of us are also confused because we try to see the problems in the probabilistic models and juxtapose it with the deterministic models.
Exactly.
And that's another area that we are in. And largely, if you look at the landscape also, the greenfield thinking versus brownfield thinking, and there's a huge difference. I think we need to learn quite a bit about that. And the optimistic view that you have taken with some information and stats that you have shown both put together, the rise of physical AI, and even in India, is giving a lot of hope. And there is evidence for that. The agentic AI applications in physical AI in sectors like manufacturing, in defense, in supply chain, logistics, so on and so forth, including pharma that you mentioned, is pretty interesting and pretty optimistic.
Drone technology is right in front of you. You
Yes.
just saw, right?
Agriculture, so on and so forth. Yeah. So these are some of the very important takeaways to summarize that it is optimistic. So that's where I rest my case, and I take this session as a very interesting and an eye-opener kind of session for all of those who've been having doubts on AI and its implications on the sector, including IT and non-IT, right? So thank you so much, sir. I would definitely request you to share your PPT. It will help us attempt a summary. Once we do a summary that is done by Professor Ved Purishwa, we'll send it back to you for your inputs, and then we'll finally upload it on our website. Okay, that will be for those who have missed the session today. They'll have the benefit of going through this session, the summary as well as the video together. So I request you to email that, sir. On behalf of all of us here, include Dr. Prasad, you have any last word to make?
I think we have covered quite a bit of ground and I have to absorb it.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So the learning potential in this session and on the topic is always pretty high. And as we are committed to lifelong learning, we will continue to learn this curve as well. We want to thank Mr. Anand Chandramouli for this time, expertise, and energy you have spent with us in helping us understand the entire landscape. I also want to thank Dr. Sanjay Fuloria. I want to thank Dr. Prasad and all those interesting questions raised by our friends around the screen today. Thank you all. We'll meet again on 6th of March at 6:30 p.m. That is the next Friday. And we talk about the B2B to B2C pivot made by Continental Coffee Limited. That's a fantastic case study. The leader himself is going to talk about this pivot and how did they manage this transition, and now the kind of size that they have in the landscape of or in the domain of that business is amazing. We are going to learn that on Friday next. Till then, keep reading more about all the literature that's available, all the videos, and then try and synthesize, reason it out, and apply it to your own context and keep growing and learning. Thank you so much. And I wish you have a great weekend, and we'll come back next week. Good night to all of you.